Good morning, everyone. I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. It is Monday, May 10th, and we are getting things rolling for this quarter. Everything's looking really well. Let me enter some people here real quick. Okay. And we have just a couple topics today, brought to you guys by the agents. Couple topics that we're going to talk about are pros and cons to owning a rental. I know this is a big question for a lot of people lately. A lot of people are wanting to invest in a second home, do some investments, do future wealth building, whatever the case may be. So whenever your clients are asking you guys, well, what is a benefit of having a rental property? Should I get a rental property? What does that entail? And kind of what's going on with that? Um, Let me go ahead and kind of go through them. So really, I mean, owning a second house is going to be really dependent on you guys and whether or not y'all feel like you can or can't. One, obviously, it's going to be dependent on your qualification. Can you afford to go buy another house as an investment property? Is it going to stretch you too thin? Do you have enough liquid assets, and do you feel comfortable with liquidating those assets, or not liquidating, but putting those assets into a non-liquid state, right? So that's one thing. But I mean, other than that, great things to have rental properties. Obviously, you're making money, you're cash flowing, hopefully, and you're having appreciating assets. So, big con or big pro is just the value itself. I mean, real estate is probably the one of the biggest reasons why most people see generational wealth and future wealth in their future, because they hold on to a property, and over time it's been proven that obviously it increases in value more so than it ends up decreasing. If you are in a bubble market, then you may see some decrease. However, if you're buying things at a good rate, especially as they are right now, it's hard to see you kind of losing very much on it. So really big incentives are tax benefits. Tax benefits are huge, just because you have a lot of write-offs. So whenever you are making money, you're claiming your income, you're claiming all these things. A second home is actually really, really, really good to offset those taxes, because now you have ordinary expenses, necessary expenses. You can write off improvements, you can write off depreciation, you can write off the normal wear and tear, you can write off the insurance payments, the interest payments on the mortgage, maintenance costs, physical deterioration, wear and tear. There's a lot of things you can actually use as a write-off for these investment properties. What a lot of people do, and I tell a lot of people, when they're asking these things, to okay, well, what is your return? Obviously, right? Most people are getting an investment property for some sort of return, and to make a little bit of money. But I do have some clients that every now and then they'll come and say, I really don't care about how much money I make. I just want to break even. I don't want to make anything, but I want to buy one because of the tax incentives, right? I can then write off a bunch of stuff, and I get to claim less on my normal income than I would be able to if I didn't have this investment property. So look at it like that. Ask your clients those questions. Are you looking to make money on it, or are you just using it as a tax haven and as a tax ability for later on in the future? And then also is, are you going to be holding it under your personal name, or are you going to be creating an entity to hold it under? Because when you create an entity or a pass-through entity, such as an S corp, an LLC, or whatever the case may be, you actually then get to take even more deductions. I think it's up to 20% of the net profit that you make on that property, then allowed to deduct from your income. So having it as a sole proprietorship or in a pass-through entity definitely gives you more tax breaks, as well as just a shielding for yourself. So if your tenant or somebody wanted to come and claim damages or claim something, then they're only allowed to basically take what's in that LLC, versus then coming after your liable assets as your personal income and your personal property and all those things, right? So gains and pros, obviously appreciation as well. When you own the asset, you expect it to appreciate, and the most generational wealth built is over the years. So if you're holding on to this thing for 5, 10 years plus, you're going to be making a huge amount of equity gains in your property. If you are in a rush market and you find good equity, and especially right now, I mean, you hold a house for a year right now and it seems to be going up $20,000, $30,000. So investment properties right now, definitely a good thing. I mean, buy and hold them. As long as you're buying them at a good rate, you're not buying them at top market value. But in the recent coming years, I do see property values continuing to rise. San Antonio, especially, is not going to be harmed as much. We already have such low inventory. People want to move here. People want to be here, and the lack of inventory just shows it. Tons of buyers, no inventory because everybody's moving down here. I don't see San Antonio slowing down by any means anytime soon, even if interest rates go up, even if real estate kind of slows down. San Antonio, I feel, is going to be pretty poised to keep going, just because we have so much room to grow still. We're still relatively a small city, and we're still relatively cheap for the nation's average. I mean, look, Austin right now, just 45 minutes up the road, an hour. They're expanding tremendously, and they're getting houses at $200,000 over asking price. So the amount of people moving down here with the purchasing power that they have is only going to probably increase. So we just need to, make sure that we are pumping those marketing streams as fast as possible, as heavily as possible, and just, really trying to build our pipelines because there are people moving here. We just need to set our things. And that brings me to another kind of just marketing thing. All of your clients, everybody who is buying, selling with you, please have them fill out a review. Do a Google review. We're on Facebook. I mean, we're on Google. I'll send everybody a link later. But tell them to give y'all a Google review or a Zillow or something, because when people are moving down here, they're looking down here. The first thing that everybody does is San Antonio Realtor, San Antonio Real Estate Agency, San Antonio, whatever. And the more reviews we can have, the more exposure we can have, and the more business that will provide for you. As well as just traffic to the website. Hey, I want to work with the so-and-so. And, just more reviews means hopefully more business for all those people coming in. So down to the cons though. So cons for real estate investment properties. It's not for everybody. It is a management process. And if you just don't have the time or just want to do it, it can definitely be a time suck and a drain for some people that just don't like it. Maybe hire a management company, but those obviously come with their own fees. So typically for one property at a time, management companies will charge you about 10% per month of the gross annual. So if you're renting for $1,000, they take $100 a month each time. So that would definitely bake into your overall bottom line. But that's kind of just how you want to do your business. If you want to manage it, if you don't want to manage it, and it can just be a lot of time put into it if you do have multiple of them. So another con is the lack of liquidity, right? So by buying this other extra asset, you're then taking the cash you have out of pocket and you're putting it into an asset to where you can't really get to it without selling it and maybe waiting a few months to get it. So if you are not cash heavy and you want to make sure you have some maintaining of savings and whatnot, that might be a little bit more, because the second property typically will dictate 20% of a property. So if you don't have $40,000 for a $200,000 house lying around, then that may be a little bit harder. Or if you do and you just have that and you have to, kind of put all your eggs and potatoes in that and just put yourself a little thin, that can definitely be a con, and not just having a good liquid safety net in a sense. So another thing is rising taxes and insurance. Obviously, with the rise of property values and your increase in equity means your higher rates in taxes. So therefore, you're now just liable for more money at the end of the year every year. Same with your insurance in premiums. The higher the house goes, the more insurance yours is going to go, and therefore, higher payments. So you need to make sure that you're either recouping that and raising the rents, or you're just, deducting them, taking more deductions to kind of offset those things. But that can be a con if you're seeing tax rates move and interest rates move, but you're not seeing the rate of rentals move up, then you might find yourself in a negative standpoint, and then just have to really try and claim everything as much as you can on those taxes. Another thing is what I kind of talked about, but I don't see it really happening as much in San Antonio. We might see a little bit, but not as much, is a decrease in value. Especially right now, we're not seeing any decreases in value, which is pretty crazy. But not to say that later in the future, we may see more of a standstill or a small decrease, but not a huge decrease. So I really don't see that being a con for us in San Antonio, but it definitely can be. Let's say the neighborhood kind of just in a sense goes to crap and nobody takes care of their properties. And nobody just, if you're in a very heavily saturated rental market or a rental neighborhood, the property values may go down just because not enough people are taking care of them. There's too many renters in them that don't take pride in keeping their houses maintained. So property values may start to go down. So if you do see a trend in that, definitely keep an eye on it and make sure that your investment stays solid with the area around it. Again, cons is an unknown tax change. So if things change, taxes, different rates, what happens, you're then obviously more liable. So just it's a bigger liability in a sense when you are taking on a second home. The landlord role can also be a con if this is just not you. I mean, you're gonna have to be kind of mean sometimes, right? Somebody's not paying you rent and you need your rent. You got to feed your family too, and it's a business at the end of the day, and nobody wants to have to kick somebody out and put them on the curb. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're entering a contract, you're entering an agreement that, hey, if I provide you with this place to rent and this place to live, you owe me money, right? So if I'm going to continuously let you live in the house, I need you to pay me my rent. And if that doesn't happen, then things might have to get a little ugly sometimes. I might have to go file an eviction. I have to be there with the sheriff to literally move you out and put your stuff on the curb. Not everybody likes doing that, and it's not everybody's cup of tea, but that's going to be the inevitable part of rental properties is you're going to have a bad tenant at some point that you're going to have to evict, and you're going to have to be mean at some points. And if that's just not you, that's not something you want to do, then maybe rental property isn't for you, right? And then the last thing is con is just upkeep, right? Fixing extra stuff. That's an extra entire house. So you have your house and you maintain it, you fix things here and there, fix the roof, whatnot, expenses, and having an additional house therefore is increasing your liabilities times two, your fixes, your upkeeps, your the wear and tears, your new water heaters, HVAC goes out, whatever the case may be, more stuff. But then again, you can write those off in your taxes and utilize that as a benefit. But in the meantime, a lot of it can be, overwhelming. It's a lot of upkeep and make readies, right? Whenever you have one tenant leave and you now need to get the place ready again for the new tenant, that's also another expense. So kind of just good pros and cons of that. I know, Leslie, this was really morely geared towards you because I know you asked me this question. Do you have anything else that you wanted me to kind of touch up on, or if you had a question about anything on the rental pros and cons?
No, thank you so much. I wanted to join earlier, but I had to take my son to the doctor and they took forever. So I'm a little
Sure.
bothered, but everything you said was very informative. I was just wondering, I don't know if you touched on this, what is the difference, or if it's a little bit, I don't know, different territory. If you buy a 1 through 4 unit versus a home,
Uh-huh.
is it more, the expenses, are they about the same issues, the same concerns, or is there a little bit of a difference on that?
So you're saying a multifamily up to 4 units
Yes,
versus a single family?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
so really you would just take everything I just said and multiply it by four, right? Because now you have
Gotcha.
4 units, four refrigerators, 4 bathrooms, for this that you're now having to now 4 tenants that you may have to all kick out. So it's just really just multiplying things by 3 or 4, right? So if you have one tenant for the asset itself, it's good. I mean, you only have one asset, but at the end of the day, you're not having 2 to 4 tenants that you're now having to deal with each one, maintenance calls, more time spent on there, more evictions if you have to. So it just kind of escalates things a little bit more. But but it also in a sense will increase your potential more, right? You have one asset, one tax, one this, but you have 4 incomes or 2 incomes for that one property. So it just kind of, you really have to weigh out your pros and cons. But at the end of the day, it is just going to be on the tenant side multiplied by 4. You're just having to have to maintenance calls more, check-ins more, more management of rent and those things. The asset side is going to stay exactly the same for the pros and cons because it's one asset. Taxes are always going to be an issue. Insurance is always going to be an issue. Maintenance itself is always going to be an issue. And then your pros are always good. You can always tax defer. You can always 1031 exchange those things and tax defer. You take write-offs, you take whatever you need. But just the cons on that side would just be more of your time spent and more just having to be that manager versus just a one unit.
Okay, and then resale value, you know how homes, you're saying that they are going up
Mhm.
because of the demand. Is that the same thing with multi-unit properties? Do
Yes.
you feel it's as, okay, so it is the same. So
Yeah.
they do hold their value and their resale value and so forth.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
That
Just as
was a
long, just
question
as
I
long as
also had.
you're upkeeping it, you're maintaining the
Yes.
property, and you're charging good rent, right? Because most of the time, whenever you are selling these investment properties, that you're selling them based off of the income you're getting. So if you're making sure that the
Mm-hmm.
property is up to date and kept up well, you can then charge the highest, market rent. And so by charging the highest market rent, now you have a multiplier. Okay, I make $1,000, I make $4,000 a month on this property, meaning I make what, $48,000 a year on it minus my expenses. What's my overall gross income? And then that's kind of what I'm pricing it based off of for that next person to
Okay.
see it as an investment. So if you are maintaining that property, you can then charge the highest amount of rents. Then you can then go forth and sell it for the highest amount possible based on those rents and that income.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. You answered all my questions.
Okay, perfect. Okay, on to the next one. And I know this has kind of been a topic for quite a few of y'all. I had one agent in particular bring this one up, but I know I've had over the course of a few weeks had multiple conversations about just bad clients. Bad, not necessarily bad, but just not very cooperative. Some of them are rude. Some of them just aren't getting things done in time. Some have just expectations that, aren't being met. And these are kind of just, ideas and little tips that I agree with. And I kind of read, I was looking through some stuff just to kind of figure out, but they all make sense. And this is kind of what I would have advised anyway. So for the first one is just pre-screen your clients, right? I mean, we can't work with everybody. We want to work with everybody, but our personalities, our ways of doing business, our ways of communicating are all just so different. And sometimes it's not even worth taking on the client if it's going to if it's going to shoot your stress levels through the roof. Maybe find another agent. Hey agent, like I have this client, I don't work well with him, would you want to work with him? And I'll give him to you either for free or for a referral fee, and let's try and work the business. But not everybody's going to be everybody's cup of tea. So let's pre-screen them, whether that means, setting up with them, meeting them at their house, taking them out to lunch, just meeting them face to face, and figuring out what they want, what they don't want, because that's going to say a lot about them personally. If you can tell, they have this long list of things that's just kind of unattainable, then that might be, you know what, Mr. I might not be the best person for you. Or if it's the type of client that needs 100% attention and you can only be their agent because they need 100% of your attention, then I can't provide that, sir. I have other business, I have other clients I need to maintain. And it's just, making sure that we are on the same page, that I can satisfy your needs in the way I see fit, and for both of us, right? We want to make sure that we're working with people that are, one, truly serious, because there's a lot of looky-loos, a lot of people that we don't want to waste our time with, right? Asking these qualifying questions. Are you ready to buy a house? What are you looking for? What is your time frames? Just really qualifying them to make sure they're serious and they're not just wasting your time. Because honestly, we just had this happen this week. One of our agents has been helping this client thoroughly, very, very nice. Obviously, one of our very, very sweet. And at the end of the day, we got under contract. We did what he wanted, and we put under contract, and we got him everything. And then the night before option period, he starts trying to make all these reasons of why the seller's screwing him over, why he's not getting a deal, and he only wants a deal. and he's not going to budge, and he's going to have somebody else fabricate some information so that we can try and reduce the price. And this is like not cool, right? We're trying to do the best of our ability, get you the service you want, but we're not going to go ahead and break ethics, and we're not going to go and try to run a deal when we're already doing the best in this market. This market is a crazy market, and unfortunately deals aren't really there to be had right now. I mean, if you can find one, great, but if right now it's just the realistic standpoint that we're not going to find it. So let's qualify these people, see what their demeanor is, if they are truly serious or if they're not, and if they're just playing around and they want to seem cool or whatnot. But it's definitely a big thing, and a lot of people want to say that they're able to go and buy stuff and do all these things, but at the end of the day, they're really not. So let's try and really qualify them. I don't want you guys stressing out too much. I mean, if you have this just unruling, demanding client, which happens, they want to call you at any time of day, but when you try to call them, they're too busy or whatever the case may be. Utilize your time wisely and find the people that really want to work with you and that really are serious about buying or selling, because there's no time to be wasted with people that aren't just sure at the end of the day, right? We want to utilize your times 100%. Number two is just listen closely, right? Because that's gonna really dictate what they want, what they don't want, and it'll save you guys a lot of time versus having to kind of play the guessing game, right? Really listen to what their concerns are. When somebody says, "I want plenty of space," well, what does that mean, sir? Does that mean you want large square footage? You want large acreage? You want big bedrooms? You want this? Like, what does plenty of space mean? Right? Or I want a safe neighborhood, or I want this. So really, just really understand and listen to them as much as possible, because that will really give you the most information for them. And ask open-ended questions. Ask very generalized questions so they can just start kind of going on and figuring out what they want while they're telling you these things. Because a lot of the times people just need to talk it out to really understand what they even want. Number three is educate them early and set expectations, right? Just kind of how I was saying in the beginning. We need to set expectations. Mr. Client, I mean, I know you want a deal, but right now we're going to try our hardest to find you a deal. But at the current standpoint, the way the market is holding, if you want what you want, we may have to pay a premium. We may have to go above and beyond this. And so let's make sure that we are poised for those negotiations. How much cash do you have on hand to maybe increase the value? Let's talk to our lenders. Can we apply for a down payment assistance so that we can mitigate some of those costs for you? What are those things that you have and you are available to have to you to make us stand out a little bit? Do you have a little bit more cash, or do you have something else? What is it that we can do to make sure that we get you the best results possible? What is your time frame in this market? We need to make sure that we are seeing houses the day of or the next day, because things are going under contract the same day, and we can't just wait till Saturday to go and do the showing. So make sure that we are setting expectations on the buy side, on the sell side. Hey, Mr. Seller, like, honestly, on the first 3 days of the listing, I would probably go rent a hotel or just be out of the house, because right now showings are being booked from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and the sellers aren't even able to be in their house because there's just so many showings happening. So maybe stay at a friend's house, stay at a relative's house for the couple days, 3-4 days that we're on market, until we can get you an offer, and then we'll close it up and then you can move back in, right? Just really making sure that they understand each part of the process and the way the market's going. So therefore they're not just like, well, what the shit? I can't even be in my house. You didn't, you didn't tell me it was going to be like this. And then there's no reason for them to just be upset, right? Like, hey, we talked about this in the very beginning and blah, 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 right? We always want to say, I told you so. And we never want to be on the receiving end of, you never told me. Right. So just making sure we educate them early, understand the process, tell them about the market, what's going on, and don't promise them a deal. I know a lot of agents are yes, I'll just get the deal done, get it, let's do it. But right now, especially with these people, we don't want to be on that receiving end of, well, you said we could do this and you said I could get a deal and blah, blah, blah. It's right now, sir, there's really not many deals to be had right now. It's kind of on a premium market right now. And I really only see it going up. Just because of where we are in the nation. Number 4 is get ready for emotions. If you're not an investor client and you are dealing with first-time home buyers, first-time sellers, even veteran sellers and buyers, emotions play a big role in these things. Somebody who's been in their house 20 some years, raised their 3 kids in the same house, grew up in the house, whatever the case may be. I mean, emotions get involved, and it's just a nature of the business. I mean, all of us, I feel, can attest to being an unpaid therapist or an unpaid psychiatrist, right? We have to deal with the emotions of our clients, and it's just something that we need to do in this business. We are a people business and a service-based business, so we need to kind of just stay calm whenever things arise, and just maintain that professionalism. If they're going on a rant and they're going on something about why they're upset, just listen, understand, kind of empathize with them, see where they're coming from, versus just, well, I did this, and getting aggressive, because at the end of the day, it doesn't solve anybody's problem. We really truly have a problem with not listening to each other to then find the solution. We just think, oh, well, he said this, so I'm going to retaliate and I'm going to prove myself right and do this. Just listen. And I promise, if you listen enough to where they just tire out, then it's probably going to be a much easier conversation than you giving more and fueling the fire on top of it. And then nobody's going to find a solution. Let's see. So offer to fix the problem and identify the reason behind the client's behavior. So, what is going on? Sometimes the reason why they're upset at you has nothing to do with you or with something else, but by listening and just figuring out, letting them vent. And in some cases, I can understand that. But with that, take that with a grain of salt. And if they come and start coming at you and, cussing you out and being mean to you, you do not have to tolerate that. You do not have to stand behind that. You can hang up the phone, call me, I'll call them, and we can settle this thing. I don't want anybody having to be berated or feel like somebody's punching bag for anybody, because that's not right. And I won't stand behind that. So if that is a case for anybody, just have them call me or you call me and I'll call them, and we will either terminate or we will figure something out, because that is never acceptable on either side. I don't want to see you guys doing that to anybody, and I know y'all won't, but I don't want anybody doing that to y'all as well, because that's not okay in my book. Everybody can control their emotions. It's just, some people have a better ability to, and some people don't, but everybody can control themselves. And that's what I think anyways. And then stay calm and decisive. So kind of what I was just saying, making sure that you are just calm in everything you do. Don't let people's emotions get a hold of you, and just maintain calmness. And also just ask these questions, Mr. Seller, Mr. Buyer, how do you like to be communicated to? Do you like text? Do you like phone? Do you like email? Let's figure out the best way to work with each other. What is your availability? And what works best for you. I don't want to, not call, you tell me not to call you from this time and this time, and then you get upset at me for not calling you, right? So let's make sure that we have a clear communication of what's going on, the type of clientele we're dealing with, and be very just concise of what you're doing. What is your availability? Do you have any preferred reports, feedback, or previewing of homes? Do you have any, we need to ask for necessary documents. Just be very time management of your stuff, get what you need from them, and move the deal forward. The less time we can try and spend with each client means the more we can spend with other clients. And just building your business and moving things forward. Don't waste all your time on one client. If it's a great big client, I can understand why you would want to do that. But at the end of the day, if a client is just drain sucking you and there's just no end in sight, then it might be helpful just to drop them and move on. We sometimes we don't want to do that, but at the end of the day, if it's overwhelming you too much, then I would just say move on, find something that you can close in a better time frame and move on from that. So that's kind of some tips with dealing with troublesome clients. And it's hard. It's a hard part of our business, and we are psychiatrists, we are therapists at the end of the day sometimes, because people just are going through a stressful time and they're spending a lot of money, or they're selling a house that they've been in for years on end. And it's a stressful situation to buy and sell houses. And I know a lot of y'all can attest to that. One good note though, and on a separate topic, we are going to be hosting an agent mixer here coming soon. I believe at the end of the month or beginning of next month, we're actually going to do a nice bowling outing. So instead of coming here to the house and doing all that, we're going to do something a little bit more fun, entertaining. We're going to do a little bowling night for the agents. So families welcome, bring the kids if you want. We'll have a good time, and we'll keep you guys posted on that. We'll send an email a little bit later. But other than that, does anybody have any questions before I let y'all go? Nope. Okie dokie. Well, then I would wish y'all the rest. I wish y'all a great rest of your day. And if y'all need me at all, feel free to give me a call, and I'll probably check in with each one of y'all a little bit later in the week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Bye,
you so
guys.
much.
Have a
Have a
good
good
one.
one. Bye.
Bye bye.